Now let's have a little moment and do our fidget spinner drawing. So you can see our new technique here is, of course, these external tangent arcs here. Okay, the 60mm arcs. And we'll have a look at how to do them. But the other thing we're going to look at is how to do our circles really nice and cleanly. Okay, so these are, again, they're full circles, so we don't have to worry about what's a construction line. We're going to set up this little equilateral triangle initially. We'll draw all the 35s together, so we don't adjust our compass, and it's just right. We'll do all the 16s together. Now, you might look at this equilateral triangle, the one in green, think, well, how big is it? Because they don't seem to give me a measurement for it. And this is actually a great example of sometimes we need to go back to the text of the question. And you'll see that it's 100mm a side. So let's go off and do that. I'm going to pop a construction line down along here. All right. And we'll just make a mark at 20 and 30. Okay. So, and before we get in, just give me a moment. We're going to lock the focus so this doesn't keep jumping with my hand. Right. Now, there's a couple ways to do it. You can do it with your compass, or you can do it with your set square. I'll do it with the set square here. So we know it's 60 degrees up. And we know it's going to be 60 degrees up there. And off we go. Now, my set square has gotten a little bit wobbly. Wow, that's really disappeared there on us, hasn't it? There we go. That's a bit better. So my set square's got a little bit wobbly. So just we'll see if it's not perfect. And I might show you another video how I'm going to fix that. So these are the centers for my circles. Let's go ahead and draw circles. So we'll set this to 35. There we go. Now, after the sun being lovely and steady all morning, it suddenly decided to go bright and dark in the clouds when I started to do some work, which is very considerate of it. Bastard sun. Now, what we won't complain about being sunny, not in this country, it is at least a nice bit of cheer. Okay, so there's a good circle. Let's have a look at how I did that. First of all, I got the pin into the hole. So I flick it there, it's not going to jump out. That's not only in the page, and not only invisible, there we go, but it's actually right into the board. Now, I'm not touching this. If I touch this part of the compass, it's going to start moving and changing size. So I'm only holding the top of it. And put it down there, and we can just swing it around. Now this looks easy, but it takes practice. Okay, the way I'm getting it darker is I'm twisting to push it down into the page, and that's what gives it the pressure it needs. Now, don't go mad on that one, because you'll rip it out of the page if you go too hard. There is just a bit of a knack as to how hard you can press, and as you'll see, you'll get fairly good at it after a while. I'd say for the moment, aim to do it in a couple passes rather than lash it down, because if you push hard enough, you'll actually expand the size of the compass, and then your measurements are in a mess. Okay, so we got those three guys done. Let's put our little 16s in the middle as well. So just take a little moment, and sometimes measuring those distances is kind of awkward on a T-square because it's very big. So I'm going to measure the 16 on my set square. And you can see the way I'm just using the wheel. My finger's on the back of it here, but I'm using the wheel to adjust the size of my compass. And there we go. Okay, so that's 16. So we'll pop that in. Now for the smaller ones, it is a little bit trickier. Okay, you'll get there eventually, but if you're having a bit of problem, you might use your finger to just hold the pin in place, and you might have to do it in a couple little passes like that. Okay, if your lead is nice and sharp, then you won't get all the double lines. Okay, now what about this guy in the center? Well, if we look at our constructions, what you're going to notice is that it kind of seems to come together. And we do this by bisecting this angle. Now that's 60 degrees, so I bisected really easily. 30 degrees here. There we are. And this should be a nice light construction line, but because the sun is being so annoying today, I'm drawing them a bit darker. And there we go. Now you can see mine is ever so slightly out, and that's because this T-square is wobbling a little bit. Okay, but it's a busy day ahead of us, so I've got to get this done. Now, that is also a line between the centers. Okay, so I can take any of these lines. I'll put this in the center. Okay, I'll use this one because it's easier to get to. Do a little bit of a mark there to make sure I know where it's contacting. Fix our exposure because it's just been one of those annoying days. Right, you can just check that, yeah, it is kind of touching there and there. Actually, that one's off a little bit there. So let's just check this now. Okay, So we are seeing some variation, and this, I can tell you right now, is unfortunately due to the fact that my T-square is not sitting straight. So that center isn't right because it wobbled when I put my set square down. That's why I have a gap there, there, and there. All right. Now, you guys are going to be able to do it better, but again, if we have a look at this, this is actually wobbling a small bit. Okay, you may not be able to see it in the video, but I can feel the little rock. So we'll fix that along the way. So you guys, your task is see can you do better than I did there. If it's wobbling, we'll have a look at the fixing video. Okay, so now we've got to get our tangent arcs. Well, how are we going to do it? Okay, it's distance between the centers. This is 35. That's going to be 60 out there. So we're looking at 95. Let's set this to 95. All the way out there. Okay. There we go. So my center out here, somewhere out there. Okay, we'll lock this in because it is going to start jumping. And of course it's somewhere out here. Now I'm going to do all of them in one go because that way everything will line up just nicely. Okay, I don't want to be changing my compass up and down all the time. Okay, and there we go. That one just off camera. We'll scoot this up a bit. So those are my three centers. And now I can bring this back and get it set up. Now just a little tip for you. What I'm actually going to do is join the centers. Okay, find my point of contact. And I'll set my compass off this. I can check very quickly. That should be 60. Okay, that is off a little bit, but it's close enough. Again, we'll just see how that's going there. Okay, get that set up. How's it contacting here really nicely? And so on. So now we can go in and do our tangent arcs. And actually, I'm going to go and do all of those little points of contact because it'll allow me to get the drawing really nice and neat. There we are. Oops, that's a terrible line. So that's going to contact here. So I don't know what angle this is. I'm just doing this free with my set square. Doesn't matter what angle it is, but it will tell me when the tangent arc stops. Okay, nice light constructions. There we go. So I know my tangent arcs are going to stop. Just put little dots. You don't have to put dots, but I'll do it just so you can see it. There and there, and there and there. Right, now let's see how this is going to work out for us. So we'll put this in here. So we'll check to make sure we're on the right track. Okay, so of course I had set it for this one, so we'll do this guy first. Now my compass has clearly got a little bit of a knock while I was doing all that stuff, so we'll just set it a bit more there. There we go. Okay, and again I'm holding with my finger to keep it nice and steady. Look at this guy. This one's a bit easier to keep steady. And there we have it. And there is our lovely little fidget spinner.